too.
Wait, why is Matesh playing first?
That's a good question. Also, it doesn't look like the Unracto scam.
Yeah, the names are switched. Yeah, the names are switched.
We're gonna get them sorted. That's sorted for you.
In the Swiss rounds, you got to roll a die or some random method. Who plays first in the top 8? Higher seed gets to play first. So we have Marcus on the right side, obviously choosing to play first, and the decks should be switched as well.
It's just the deck names that need to be swapped. There we go. We've got that sorted for you.
Okay, now it's correct.
So yeah, so Marcus on the right of your screen there. Obviously, our first seed managing to winning in last round on camera, and this is open deck list now. Now we're in the top 8. Each player knows the exact 75 that their opponent has brought to this weekend.
Which also means that you should be able to find all the deck lists on the MTG Melee website that just got posted in the Twitch chat. So check that out. If it's not available right now, it should be
super short
any moment because all the deck lists are public right now.
Or just follow Fire Shoes. The second it goes live, Fire Shoes will retweet it. That man is a godsend to the community. As we can see, a Dolphy Voidwalker come down on turn number 2 here. We're going to crack our fetch stand for our turn. Obviously, that will go to exile underneath the Dolphy Voidwalker.
So let's talk about the decks here. Mateus playing Rag the Scam, cards like Fury, Grief, with the Evoke mechanic, and you're using cards like Undying Malice, Feign Death to sort of bring them back when you're kind of like creating a lot of mana on turn 1 or 2, like sort of making this play that shouldn't be possible this early in the game. So you're kind of trying to draw these cards together, but it also works just as a regular, Rakdos midrange deck, and we have learned that Rakdos midrange cards are good in every format. So we have cards like Ragavan, Doughty Voidwalker, Seasoned Pyromancer, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think Matesh is also playing 2 copies of Blood Moon in the main deck. Plus you have the the usual cards like Thoughtseize. So.
And here comes the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But I do want to talk about this namesake card of the Elemental decks. This is one that gets him turning and burning Risen Reef. Every time an Elemental or itself enters the battlefield, we get a trigger. We get to look at the top card. If it is a land, we have the option to put it into play if we want to. If it's not, we get to put it into hand. Pretty powerful card in a deck that every card is an Elemental, right?
Yeah, Elementals, 4-color deck, everything except for black. You have Omnath, obviously, the value engine. If you're playing 4 colors, might as well play Leyline Binding. Obviously, there's also Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I wonder how many decks in the top 8 are running Fable, because both of these decks have Fable. There's 3 copies of Creativity that have Fable.
I imagine 5 of our top 8 are all running it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. What started as a card that people were like, yeah, is this standard playable? Is this good enough? Now it just shows up in every deck, so that's kind of awesome.
Philippa's next to us. We'll see if Philippa can find out how many Fables are in our top 8. How many copies of Fable the Mirror Breaker have managed to make the top 8 of this tournament? She's looking at me with this card like I've asked her to jump off a bridge or something. Jeez.
One really cool card that we have seen in this Elementals deck is, exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah, Elish Norn. we saw a match between Elementals and I believe it was the Amulet Titan deck.
Yeah.
The Elemental player resolved Elish Norn, and the Titan player just looked at the board.
Just decided to stop. He's like, I can't win.
Let's go to the next one.
So for Elish Norn, let's see if we can get that up on the screen for you all. So if you don't know what that one does, obviously there are 2 copies in Marcus's deck here. Let's see if I can get this up on the screen for you all. Nope, that's definitely the wrong one that I've just selected.
So the Elementals deck looks like, a lot of expensive cards. People would think this is probably too slow for Modern, right? But you also have a lot of cheap interaction spells. You have Dead Gone, you have, to deal with cards like Ragavan. You have 4 copies of Fire and Ice, and obviously there's Leyline Binding that you can play pretty early as well. Plus you have the Fairy, to stop all these Cascade decks from doing these Cascade shenanigans.
Look, giving everything double triggers and stopping your opponent's triggers seems absolutely crazy. Also, the art on this card looks insane.
Was Fable just played?
I think Fable was just played. I was literally wondering, does that trigger? Because it's all permanents, I believe. We'll see. There is judges stood right next to the tables for all of our top 8. So this is why we have it. This is why we have main tournaments. And we're going to pass it back. So we spoke about how good Fable is in multiples.
Actually,
Fable isn't
it's
a trigger, apparently.
It's the
ETB.
It's the chapter triggers or something. It's not okay. It doesn't. Yeah, right.
Oh, we got some big names in the chat. Hello, Mr. Goldfish. Hello, Mr. User. Hope you're all enjoying the show. Thank you all for tuning in. And then we're going to see this Solitude come down here. Double triggers, double Risen Reef triggers. This is where the value entry starts turning the burning. So top card, we're going to put it in hand. Next top card, we're going to put this land into play. Works really well with Omnath, being able to play multiple lands in a turn and get multiple triggers. Dead gone. 2 damage to that token. Get it off the battlefield.
That's a cheap interaction. Risen Reef gets to attack. We're up to 7 lands to Mateus' 4.
And this seems brutal, right? When you're playing against a deck where the powerhouse is kind of Fury and Grief, but when they're into ETB now, they will do nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the red-black deck. How many cards do actually still do something? Season Pyromancer, Grief, Fury. Yeah, there's not much, and I don't think there is that much removal either. I think there's 3 copies of Terminate, 2 copies of Lightning Bolt, and some copies of Fatal Push. Obviously, Fatal Push not going to be able to deal with Leicht Norn.
Not much here. Yeah, we can't turn and burn for our deck with things like Season Pyromancer. The fact that we just got her on the battlefield, this seems pretty brutal, but realistically, a big 5-drop, she's meant to be. It's Mummy. You know, Mummy should be super powerful. We're going to force these. And Fable Mirrorbreaker, a Leyline's Binding.
Both of these cards pretty good right now. Obviously, Leyline a little bit stronger because it triggers twice, thanks to Leicht Norn.
How many mana tides in the top? Unfortunately, none. They managed to lose their winning in. But we will be seeing them in Athens. They did manage to, I believe, top 16 or something along those lines. So they did get themselves an invite to Athens. So we, fingers crossed, maybe they'll turn up with more mana tides in their deck for that. Whatever. I think it's Pioneer, that format. Philippo's got back to me. It is 20 copies of Fable the Mirrorbreaker in our top 8. Let's have a little look. We're passing it back. I feel like we're just going through the motions here, but like while Leicht Norn's on the battlefield,
that is an Omnath. Okay. I was going to say, yeah, Fable, doesn't look that strong right away, but if you wait a couple turns, you flip it into the Kiki-Jiki Reflection, then you start copying all these Risen Reefs and get a bunch of triggers, maybe the Solitude, then this game is going to be pretty over pretty quickly, but I think Omnath is going to be a nice one as well. Okay.
We're going to lighten about the Risen Reefs. Stop these triggers a little bit. There's still going to be 2 triggers where we get to draw 2 cards. The value is real. We're going to play a land for the turn. We're going to gain 4 life. I think, do we gain 4 life then? I get 4 mana because we've got Leicht Norn on the battlefield. Getting double triggers from these Omnaths. We're fetching as well. Trigger, like if we're on Modo right now, the screen's just filled with different triggers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like which one? How would you like to stack your triggers? Obviously, we don't have that luxury in the booth, so we're just going to talk you through what is basically happening. Is Omnath is got a lot of triggers on the stack right now, with Leicht Norn giving double triggers. So we're getting mana, we're getting life, potentially doing 8 damage if we can get another land drop this turn. Fire and Ice is going to deal with the Mirrorbreaker, and yep, that's enough. We're scooping it up. Mummy's pretty good. If you get her on the battlefield,
yeah, I think
pretty good
this is kind of exactly what you want to play against. You want to play against other mid-range decks and just get your value engines online and start drawing a lot of these cards. And in this entire game, Marcus was never under any kind of pressure. So,
well, this is Marcus's 75. This is knowledge to both players now, as this is open deck list. What do you think they can be bringing in here to try and shore up this game 2?
So I see Magus of the Moon, Blood Moon. You can look at the mana base of the other player. I think Marcus actually plays 3 different basic lands. So yeah, now that both players kind of know, Marcus can fetch the basics. Do you still want to bring in the Blood Moon? I think you still do. I see an extra copy of Thoughtseize in the sideboard. I think you want to bring that in, but I don't know if Mateus really has a lot of super impactful cards for this matchup because it is kind of mid-range against mid-range. But the other mid-range deck just goes fully over the top of you.
Seen. And now let's get that one on the screen for you all. Here we are. This is Respect the Cat. Remember, on Twitter, Marcus, popular Twitch streamer, popular on Twitter, posts a lot about these decks. He's a very big Elementals player, loves experimenting with different cards in this deck, trying to see what works best. And clearly, this is a good 75, getting him into the top 8 of the biggest event in Europe since COVID. So, we do have companions. We've seen that quite a lot. We've got a couple of endurance. Vindicate. We did like that there was a Vindicate in this list. Having a look down, Murderous Cut, not one you normally see.
Yeah, I think Marcus also doesn't really want to sideboard too much. His deck is synergy deck. It's not really a tribal deck. There aren't really that many elemental things like you're normally used to seeing. It doesn't really go like turn one Harbinger into Bloom Tender into Horde of Nations or anything like that. But it's still a deck where you don't really sideboard that much.
So are we bringing anything in? Is there anything worth bringing in?
I mean, you want to like slow down the opponent. You don't want to die to an early Regavance. I think these Dead Golems are going to stay in Fire and Ice, and if the game goes long, you're just going to win with all these Omnats and the value stuff from Fable and Risen Reef.
I'm looking at the mana base. Obviously, being 5 colors, it doesn't come free. It's not cheap. You can take a lot of damage off our lands. A lot of one-ofs in this deck. In the lands sort of slot. The only time we get multiple copies is in the fetch land. And we've only got a handful of them. 7, I believe, if I'm counting right. Oh, no, wrong. 11. So 11 fetch lands, a lot of different other ones that we can fetch. But very painful mana base if we go that route. Let's get back down to the match, see if players have finished shuffling up. Looks like we are just coming to the end of it now. If you're just tuning in, welcome. Where have you been? We've had 15 rounds of Modern action. Over 1,000 players turned up to play this weekend and battle it out to see if they could get into this top 8. We managed to invite 86 back to day number 2, and they've been battling it out to the final top 8 where we are now. One person out of this top 8 is going to walk away with this trophy in front of us, a whole bunch of money, loads of ticks, and all the extra prizes that come with it. But the top 8 have secured their slots, their free flights, their free accommodation to the finals in Athens. Looking forward to it. Obviously, that's qualifying for Barcelona, which I know I've gone to buy a lot this weekend, but it is the Lord of the Rings Pro Tour, and I am a big sucker for Lord of the Rings, so I love it. I'm excited for that Pro Tour.
I'm excited for Athens as well.
Yeah.
Greece, great country to visit if you want to do some sightseeing. It's going to be during summer, so great weather as well. Maybe you can take your partner, have a nice vacation. So that sounds really cool.
Even better when you've just won free flights and accommodation for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, opening 7s. Let's see if we've got keeps on both sides. We're going to say Mateus is going to take a mulligan here. Doesn't like his opening 7. What about Marcus? Looks like we've got a keep on that side. What sort of cards are we looking for in the back to a scam deck? Obviously, high variance. It can have very explosive turn 1s. What sort of cards do they need for it to be like super? What do they really want?
Yeah, I think you kind of just hope to start with Ragavan, have a Thoughtseize, maybe take the removal spell from your opponent. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the play, turn on Ragavan, Thoughtseize your turn 2, take the Fire and Ice, and hope that you're gonna be too slow, and maybe I can try to get you with Blood Moon.
We do have a classic qualifier happening in the background. You might be hearing the announcements of that. Don't worry, it's got nothing to do with what's
Nine rounds,
going on
by
here.
the way.
Yeah, 9 rounds, completely sold out. It actually sold out on Friday.
Yeah.
So many players turned this weekend. One, because Prague is such a beautiful city. Even if you didn't manage to take D2, worst case scenario, you can either play more Magic or you can go look around literally the beautiful city. I can't wait to go after we finish today. I'm going to get some nice food. I'm thinking maybe a steak or something along those lines. Lots of places to go. One of these players is going to be walking, imagine, with a big steak dinner if they manage to walk around with over $5,000 in cash.
I think there were so many players that at some point they just ran out of space. People were like, hey, can I play side events? They're like, we wish, but there's currently no more space. We would like to, we would like for you to be able to play, but there's currently not any more space.
Okay, we're off to the races. We're going to start off with just a fetch land and pass the turn. Try him over on Marcus' side. So no turn 1 Ragavan, no turn 1 Grief with a scam effect or anything along those lines. Fetching up a Blood Crypt. Now, what sort of powerful 2 drops could we have? If we don't have a powerful 1 drop, I imagine we must have something on 2. Dolphy Voidwalker is our only 2 drop.
You're definitely looking for a fast hand, because if this matchup goes long, and yeah, like this Ragdos scam deck isn't really fast, but you are trying to look for that Ragavan, to start with the Thoughtseize. Because if the match goes long, I would favor the Elementals side.
And that's a Dolphy Voidwalker that's going to come in the battlefield. This might be the first one me and you have seen on camera, besides in in the top 8. So Shadow, not a mechanic we normally see
Yeah.
on cards anymore. But
What was
we
the
did
last
see it.
time we saw a shadow creature in?
I don't think I've been. I think this is the first Shadow creature printed while I've been playing Magic. That's maybe how long ago it was.
Yeah, I think like Time Spiral was maybe the last format where we had shadow creatures.
Does a lot though, especially if you get to follow up with things like Fortseas. Imagine if we like Fortseas away and then there's no one here, then we can sacrifice our Voidwalker and cast it ourselves. Super powerful. And we're going to see it.
Okay.
This might bait out something like a Solitude or something like that. Or we might just, we might take the hit. Our hand might be pretty bad, but can we take the risk of this Voidwalker casting whatever this Fortseas takes?
And I think you're kind of just hoping to see a slow hand, like maybe only have a Risen Reef or have a Teferi, take your 3-drop, just start applying some pressure. But looks like Marcus has a bunch of 3-drops. There's a Teferi, there's a Fable, a Risen Reef, Fury, and Solitude, I believe.
That's a good hand.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on in there. What do you pick here? Like, obviously, it depends on our hand, but like, I feel like people underestimate Risen Reef. Like you think, it's just a 1/1. Like, it gets like a trigger when it comes back.
Yeah, it comes with free value, and it enables more value later on. But I think kind of Fable is pretty much the same thing. So
yeah, true.
Pick your poison.
Then same with Teferi's turns off the scam effect. Fury and Solitude, we know what these cards done. We've seen them multiple times. Super good hand here, I think, for Marcus. I think Mateus also thinks that he's deep in the tank here. Let's have a little think. What sorts of things is he thinking about? Like, people may just be watching Play Magic for the first sort of time.
Well, now you have perfect information. You know your hand, your opponent's hand, every card in play. So you're kind of trying to piece together a game plan, which Mateus was probably thinking, okay, I need to beat down my opponent really fast. This is what I'm going to do. Let's see the hand. Can I really slow you down? Oh, wait, I can't really do that. You have too many 3s. So he's trying to formulate a game plan around these cards, but it's going to be pretty hard because Marcus kind of has every angle covered.
Now we're going to get in or we're going to cash this in for that Teferi. Do you have a Ragavan? We have the option to dash if you want to, but we know that there's a Solitude. Okay, so we're going to cash this in, get our own Teferi. Nice foil one. Already came in with 5 counters, so it looks like we're ticking it up. And then now we know we can dash this Ragavan and nothing can interact with it because of the stat ability we see on Teferi Time Raveler. We're going to shock this in. Drop ourselves down to 13 life points. But it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle, I feel.
Yeah, but this was a pretty good play. You get a Teferi in play, which kind of stops the opponent from getting too much value out of their Fable. Plus the Ragavan, still a nice thing to do. You can try to deal with it with I forgot the cards in hand, but I think there was a Solitude.
Yeah, so there's a Solitude Fury. Obviously, we can't use these with the Teferi in the battlefield, but I like this play, right? So we're fetching before the Ragavan connects to try and hit some sort of, clearly in this case, he didn't want the basics to be hit. I know it's a very small chance that we could hit it, but the odds are if they take that, okay, I need this to do that. So fetching before the Ragavan connects, because it is going to connect with that Teferi in the battlefield. We'll get the top card. We'll also make a treasure token. Let's see what it's going to be.
So Mark is demonstrating that he wants to, play around the possible Blood Moon.
And here comes a Leyline's Binding. End of turn, Ragavan comes back to hand. Now, we know there's a lot of 3-drops in hand. Which one are we going to deploy? Risen Reef. I like this because if we have to do like a Fury or Solitude in the future, we'll be able to get extra value. It already just ramped us by putting in that Sacred Foundry to the battlefield. They do enter tapped all the lands you put into the battlefield of Risen Reef though.
Yeah, like getting rid of Risen Reef always feels so bad. Like it's already a 2/1. It came into play, gave you a free land, and now you're like, well, it's just a 1/1, but I kind of have to kill it because if you keep playing more elementals, you're gonna get more free stuff. So despite the fact that you already got a 2/1, I still have to deal with your card.
Yeah, it's gonna eat a lightning bolt there. I think we're gonna dash this Ragavan one more time. I also like just bringing it into play tapped. Like, just I'm not even bothered. Yeah, it's getting tapped. We hit only a land off the top, get ourselves another treasure token. And that's a Fury left in hand for Matei. We're ticking Teferi up, back up to 6. And return Ragavan end of turn. That was an Omnath off the top. Pretty good when you got 4 land in play. Looks like Marcus agrees, and we're just going to play that straight on the battlefield, get our trigger, draw a card. We have a land drop for the turn if we want to do it. We do. Unfortunately, it's not a fetch. It's just a triumph, but we do gain an extra 4 life points there.
Yeah, and Omnath is not exactly the type of card you want to bounce with the Fairy.
And we're going to get this swamp. Super stacked top 8 though, so if you are just tuning in, we do have 3 creativity decks, 1 Rakdos deck, 1 blue-white hammer, 1 5-color elementals, 1 living end, and 1 rhinos. No Murktide managed to make the top 8 of this event, the largest event since COVID in Europe.
I think actually not even top 16 if I'm looking at this correctly.
I'm looking forward to the power rankings next weekend when Mangucci posts them.
Boros Manatide, 14th place.
Oh, yeah, that's the one we've been cheering with the Manatides all weekend. It's a nice top 16 finish for them.
The highest finishing Murktide player is at 11-4. There's a bunch of them, but nobody would have guessed that before the tournament.
No, most played deck going into day 1. Didn't manage to pick up too many into day 2. I think it was about 110 in day 1. Only 10 copies managed to make day 2. None of them managed to make top 16. Looks like the Teferi here is going to get ticked down and bounce this Omnath. Not exactly how we want to be using it, but we do get to draw a card, and that was a grief, so we can take it back out the hand if we choose to go that route. We're going to start off though with a Ragavan. Turn it sideways, connect, get the top card. It's just another land. Godless Shrine. Treasure token created. We do have 3 of them now. Going to cash 2 of them in. I imagine the grief is what we're going to use. And that is what we see. So target you. I'd like to see your hand. And we get a good look at here at home as well.
That's so many cards.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's just so many. We've got Risen Reef, we've got Fury, we've got Solitude, we've got Fable, we have the Omnath that we knew about, and a basic island. That is a stacked hand.
That is a stacked hand, yeah.
I'm not even going to ask you what we take, because I don't think there's a right answer. It's like, well, what could you take? You take this, cool, I've got to deal with that. Take this, we're going to deal with that. Not exactly what you want to see. Marcus is like, yeah, sure, go for it. Have a look. Take what you want.
Mateusz does seem to have 2 non-land cards in hand. I think I saw a Fury and maybe another red card. So I think he's doing a pretty good job of, doing his best of applying some pressure, while trying not to get buried in card advantage too much. But at least Marcus doesn't have a board for now.
And that's Fire and Ice off the top. We've got 5 mana, so we can start hard casting these 5 drops we have in hand. Maybe a Fury, finish off the Teferi on the other side, open up things like our Fire and Ice Instant Speed, our Leylines, Bindings, and our Solitudes if we want to go that route.
And if you're thinking about playing one of these events, I think our top 32 qualified for Athens, and I believe the record was roughly 11-4 that was needed. So, not an insanely hard record to get. It's not like you have to win the tournament. So top 32 qualifiers for Athens. You get to play the RC. Lots of really cool prizes there. I think the winner gets $16,000, and they can make it to the Pro Tour.
A lot of money. I love that the RCs give world invites. Like that's like the biggest, most prestigious tournament we can play in Magic the Gathering. Yet through these, we can get 2 players to them every single finals that we hold. Pass the turn back. We know there's a Ragavan in hand. I'm pretty sure there's a Fury in hand as well. Do you offer your Ragavan up for trade here just to see if the Risen Reef comes off the battlefield?
Depends on the hand. I would like to continue, applying some pressure, and Ragavan has been hitting, making treasures. Hopefully you can reveal something nice off the top of your opponent's deck. But I don't know what's in the rest of Mateusz's hand. We can also cash into the Teferi.
Looks like we are going to offer it up.
Okay.
Would you like to trade your Risen Reef for this Ragavan? And yeah, we do. Tick to ferry up. Play land for the turn. And pass. Just Fury. Get to ferry off the battlefield.
Yeah. That's just so much value from the elemental deck. Every card is a 2/1.
Yeah, it is. That I play a lot of this deck myself. It is just every card seems like it is a 2/1. Early turns you're kind of 2/1 yourself, but you can generate that like card advantage back so quickly with things like Risen Reef, Omnath, etc. Flood Strand to end the turn. Mateus doesn't look too interested so far, but we are going to see the Fury come down, get rid of the other Fury on the other side. He knows about the Solitude in hand. He knows about the Fable in hand. Fetch. Get ourselves another Triumph. And untap. We spoke about it a couple of times today, but a lot of players bringing foil decks. Respect the cat. Marcus on the right of the screen. One of those players fully foiled his deck, besides one card in his deck is not foil that he was telling me about.
That is dangerous, by the way. I would like to either have more copies of non-foil cards, because I'm always scared of like, oh, what if you know, what if it's like you can tell or whatever. So I would like to mix that up a little bit, but yeah, what's the card?
Force of Negation. He's got one Force of Negation that isn't in foil. And he's like,
okay.
It really upsets him when I mention it. So I'll make sure I mention it on the stream for you. Don't worry about it. And we're going to see Mummy come down here. Alice Schnorn turning off all the triggers on the other side of the battlefield and doubling our own. And on top of that, a 4/7 creature. It's pretty good. Let's see how we plan to come back from this. I guess Terminate has got to be one of the ones we start off with. One of the only cards that can actually deal with the Elish Norn. Just having a quick look.
Yeah, I think it just terminated.
Nothing coming out the sideboard that can deal with it. There is a
including the sideboard. I think it just terminated.
It is,
oh,
and we
there
had
it is.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we still got game here. Fury 3/3 double strike. That can close the game out real quickly with your opponent at 13 life. Marcus respects that and just throws the token in front of it. Untap, draws the turn, land.
Matej has a Ragavan in hand, but he is waiting for the right opportunity. Obviously, he didn't want to trade it there for the token.
So everyone on Mateus' side, he knows about the Solitude, doesn't know about the second card in hand. We know it's just a land. 2 mana, dash this Ragavan. Combat. We're going to exile the Fury, getting a little bit more life, gain 3 life, go up to 15. And I imagine block. Are we allowed to move to blocks?
There it is.
Feign Death. So the Ragavan comes back with a +1 counter on it. A little bit of life is gained for Marcus, 3 points. But that leaves us with 1 card in hand. Passing the turn back to Marcus. Is that a Fury? I think it was a red card. Didn't get a great look at it. Yep, it was a Fury. Fury come down, target that Ragavan. Guess Mate's got something because he's thinking about it.
Yeah, with the flipped Kiki-Jiki, having all these enter the battlefield elementals in play.
And this is what we're talking about. It just feels like now like Marcus is kind of squeezing his way over the top, right?
Yeah, turning the game around. And he's still at 16 life.
Yeah. If we get to untap with the Kiki-Jiki effect, now we can start copying our Furies. And that is exactly what's going to happen. Target this. Make a copy, ETB, we're going to do 4 damage to something. I imagine it's a Stealthy Voidwalker. And then on top of it, it's a 3/3 double striker. This is going to be 12 damage coming across.
Yeah, like if you're sitting in Mateus Seed, there's just not that much you can do.
Okay, we've got one of our, is that Feign Death maybe? Comes back with +1/+1 counter on it.
Take 12.
Jeez. Okay. Big draw step. Not entirely sure what we need, but it needs to be big. Well, we haven't even finished the turn yet. We're going to fetch. Shock in the stomping ground. Yep, that fetch land should move to exile. We're going to put a companion in hand, and we're going to cast it. Draw a load more cards. Oh my word, the value chain on this.
To make things even worse, I'm gonna draw 3.
Pass the turn. Okay. Is there a card that gets us back out of this? Don't think the Supreme Verdict's in these colors. There we go. We've moved the land back across. That is now in exile. Free mana. Season Pyro. Okay. Okay. We get 2 more
Okay,
draws.
that's a good one. Yeah, I was just thinking, okay, well, how do you really come back? I guess you need to draw more cards than just one. Pyromancer does that, okay.
It might be Fable Ragavan. Yep, and that's not going to be enough, unfortunately. Congratulations to Marcus. They're advancing to the top 4. It did kind of one-sided the way through the, as we said, the kind of mid-range battle is what he wants to be playing against. We do have a backup feature match though, so we're going to just move straight across to that so we can get the most amount of action